Hello, everyone. My name is Alex. I am the marketing and event coordinator at Foxhaven. And I just wanted to thank you all for participating. And for those who are watching from home, thank you for showing up and in that capacity as well. We have Susan Weis-Bohlen with us today, and she is a friend of Foxhaven. Her husband is on the board, and we just cherish her dearly. So she's going to talk about Ayurveda and her experience with that, which I know is vast. I'll go ahead and let you explain.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. Yeah, and some of you probably have not been to Foxhaven before. Before I start, let me get closer. Can everybody hear me okay? I hear Natalie.
Hold on.
Okay, great. If anybody has a problem hearing, just go ahead and you can put that in the chat, and Alex will be monitoring that. But I am a good friend of Foxhaven. Actually, my husband and I got married at Foxhaven nearly 10 years ago. And so it has a very important place in our hearts. So, but today, what I'm going to talk about is Ayurveda. And I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I studied one of the main places I studied was the Chopra Center in California back in 2007 and 2008. And I also studied Ayurvedic cooking with one of the premier Ayurvedic cooking teachers, Amadea Morningstar. And I have several certifications along those ways. I also studied with Dr. Vasant Lad in New Mexico, as well as in India. And I do take trips to India. Well, I used to take a lot of trips to India, usually twice a year. Taking groups there as well as studying Ayurveda. Unfortunately, with COVID and so on, I don't know when that's going to start up again, but maybe in a few years, who knows. But what I want to talk to you about today is something very near and dear to my heart because I'm actually writing a new book about it. This is my first book, Ayurveda Beginner's Guide, which just came out beautifully. I don't know. Of course, I'm not going to hit a picture with a page with a picture, but whatever, it's beautiful. And you can order it from your local bookstore as well as Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever you get books from. And so that book came out about 2 years ago, actually now. And I'm working on a second book called Seasonal Self-Care Rituals from Ayurveda. And it's on my website, and it's on, you can actually already look it up and pre-order it. It's going to come out at the end of the year. Because Ayurveda really bases its knowledge on the season that we're in. We don't, Ayurveda looks at each person as a unique individual, and we're going to go over that in the PowerPoint, the doshas, and you might be able to see yourself, your unique mind, body, constitution, and so on. But Ayurveda also looks to the seasons because we need to adjust ourselves for the seasons. We don't want to be eating ice cream in winter and watermelon in winter, and we don't want to be having heavy, hot stews in summer. So we need to, that just doesn't feel good. So we need to adjust the way that we live in order to be more in balance. Ayurveda means science of life, and it's a 5,000-year-old system of medicine from India. And if you're not familiar with Ayurveda, you can always, find more in my book or ask me questions here. I'm happy to tell you more. But right now, I'll just start with the PowerPoint because it's going to give us a really good idea of what Ayurveda is all about and how you can apply it to the situation now, especially the situation we're having with COVID-19. Ayurveda is very much about prevention and longevity. And I can't tell you that Ayurveda has a cure for COVID-19, but it certainly has a lot of information on how to boost your immune system. And we're going to talk about that in the PowerPoint today. So let me get started here. So what I'm going to present today, we're going to be talking about detoxification, purification, and rejuvenation, which is really important in the spring season. As we move from winter to spring, it's a really big transition. As you know, from winter, when the ground is really fallow and it's dry and cracked and cold and windy, and then we move into the season where like everything starts to grow and there's buds on the trees, but there's still this transition. It's still cold, like today, and a little bit windy, or like yesterday we had so much rain and it was stormy here. It was just crazy. So there's a lot of change going on in springtime. And that can really wreak havoc on the body as well as the mind, because we don't know what each day is going to be like. But if we practice these things I'm going to talk about today, detoxification, purification, and rejuvenation, we can help give ourselves some grounding and stability as we go through the season. So let's look here. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to write it in the chat. Alex is going to monitor the chat and let me know. I really want this to be as casual as we can. And just like we're in a classroom together, we'll try that to make it work like that. So let's just look here. We accumulate toxins. We accumulate toxins in the body and the mind by not metabolizing completely what we take in. And so that actually is food as well as thoughts and emotions, sensations and feelings. So food that we eat that is not processed well in our body, metabolized and broken down, it ends up becoming like a toxic residue in the system. In Ayurveda, we use the language of Sanskrit. So that becomes ama in the system. That's AMA. So literally, undigested food is what ama is. And if we don't get that out of our body, then it becomes toxic and it can eventually become disease in the body. It can cause illness, it can cause discomfort, joint pain, inflammation, and so on. But that also goes with life experiences and things in our mind. So currently we're dealing with a situation that none of us has ever dealt with before. Ever. Nobody alive today has dealt with a situation like this where the whole world is shut down because of a virus. And it's scary. And, you know, a lot of people use the word uncertain. We just don't know what's happening. There can be a lot of grief, mourning. People are dying. It's a very, very heavy time. And I find that people are expressing themselves through the doshas, which we'll be talking about, but also people don't know what they're feeling. We wake up every morning feeling something else. And so what I want to help you with here today, and I'm also working on it myself, is how we completely metabolize these experiences as we're going through them. Does that ring true for people? I hope that you can see what we're talking about here. And so daily self-renewal, if we take time every day for detoxification and so on, we can really enhance our physical system and our physical body and our mind to better handle the things that are going on. And we want to harmonize with our internal rhythms with nature, which is springtime. And springtime is this beautiful sense of renewal. And so while we're going through a scary time, we can also try to work through that and learn how to renew ourselves and be able to come through this situation and the season feeling more wholesome if possible. And so when we talk about Ayurveda, we talk about what are the 5 elements, the building blocks of nature. And these are, you see the Sanskrit words here as well as the English words. So the first element, which is outside of us as well as inside of us, is space, akasha. And space is this place of pure potential. We also have air, which is vayu, which is change, like wind, like it's constantly moving and constantly changing. We have fire, which is called tejas, which is transformation, metabolism. It's the fire in the belly. We also have jala, which is water, cohesiveness, which holds everything together. And we have earth, prithvi, which makes this foundation, this form that that keeps all of these elements together. So we had the space, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, and it's all held together in the building blocks of nature. So these building blocks make up what are called the 3 doshas, which are the mind-body constitutions. So besides these being the elements outside of us, these are also the elements inside of us. We are made up of all 5 of these elements. I keep looking outside because I live in the woods. And as I'm talking about this, I'm looking at the sun and the trees and nature, and I feel very connected. So that's actually one way for people to remember to get themselves connected to nature, is to be outside or to look outside. So from these elements, we have what are called the 3 doshas. And if anybody knows much about Ayurveda, the doshas are like the sexy part of Ayurveda. Like everybody wants to know what are their doshas. I have a friend who wrote a book called What's Your Dosha Baby? It's pretty cute. And so, excuse me. The first combination of space and air is called Vata, and that's movement. And then the next combination is fire and water, and that's Pitta, which is transformation. And then the next combination is water and earth, and that's Kapha, which is more the protection, as we talked about. So let's take a look at each individual dosha so you can get an idea, if you don't already know, where you are. So the primary functions of Vata dosha are the season we just came out of, winter. Winter has all these qualities of cold and dry, rough, mobile, changeable. And so that's where we just came out of. So in a person, we see Vata resembles the wind. I like to think of like Uma Thurman or Callista Flockhart. These are people that have a lot of Vata qualities. Thin, light frame. They usually have dry skin and hair. Excuse me. Cold hands and feet. They move and they talk very quickly. They really don't like routine. They love new experiences. And they have a lot of trouble with sleep because variable sleep patterns, because there's a lot of wind and movement in the head. And so it makes it hard to sleep. So we take these characteristics and then we look at Vata balanced as well as out of balance. So, excuse me, when Vata is balanced, they have enormous energy, creativity, they're highly adaptable to different situations, they show great initiative, good communicators, and they're really spontaneous. They're just really ready for every new thing that's coming up. But when they're out of balance, the mind is just constantly working. They have a lot of anxiety and worry, inconsistency. It's hard for them to keep a routine. They can suffer from insomnia, as I talked about. Really a big indication of too much Vata dosha in the body is constipation. All that dryness, it makes it really hard to have a bowel movement, as well as a lot of gas and bloating, which is air and space. So you might see yourself or somebody you know in these characteristics. And after we go through all 3 doshas, I'm going to give you my take on how all 3 doshas are handling the COVID-19 pandemic that we're in, because so I can see all 3 doshas in my mind in just the first hour when I wake up in the morning. But if we can figure out which dosha can balance for having, we can treat it better. So again, if there's any questions as I'm going on, please let me know. Because Vata has so much air and space in their body, they tend to suffer from ailments of dryness. It can be arthritis, dry, cracked skin, as you mentioned, constipation. They can have a lot of IBS or IBD, a lot of digestive problems go along with Vata, dry eyes, dry mouth, anything that has to do with drying, like lack of synovial fluid in the body and in the joints can be a Vata problem. And then we have Pitta, which is made of fire and water. Primary function is transformation and metabolism. So we see Pitta is really hot, intense, sharp, acidic. They need to have some moist though. Pitta actually tends to sweat a lot, because if they didn't, they would like spontaneously combust. So it's a nice combination of earth and water here. I'm sorry, of fire and water. So Pitta, really fiery in nature. They tend to have a medium strong build. I like to think of Barack Obama as my perfect Pitta. I don't know if he sleeps soundly for short periods, but he has a very sharp intellect, direct, precise, stays close to a routine, very, very courageous. If you're in a burning building, you want to follow the Pitta out of the building. They're going to step up. They're going to know how to get you out. The Vata person is going to be really disoriented and confused, and we'll see the Kapha is going to be under her desk eating her last box of cookies. So we really want to know who the Pitta person is in the room. When a Pitta is balanced, they're super friendly, warm, great leader. They have a really strong digestion because of that really hot digestive fire. They can eat just about anything. When they're balanced, they're very warm and friendly, and you just want to be around them. But when Pitta is out of balance, they can be angry, judgmental, irritable, really just hugely critical. They can be aggressive. They're the people with like anger management issues, and then it shows up physically as they have migraines, skin problems, eczema, rosacea, inflammation, and indigestion, heartburn, just too much heat in the body. They're the people you see sometimes when they get angry, they get like a red neck or a red forehead. They just have so much excess fire, they're just not even sure how to handle it. So the Pitta person can be like a fire-breathing dragon. Like it just builds up, and then like, blah, they burn down the entire village, and they're like, oh, I feel better, and they walk away, and they don't even know the destruction that they have left behind. So that's something to look for in a Pitta person. But as I said, balance, they're awesome. You might hear my dogs barking. There's 3 of them. That's, doing class from home, sorry. Then we have Kapha dosha. Kapha is super nice. So Kapha is made of earth and water, and as I said, they hold everything together, structural integrity. So Kapha, we see they move very slowly, but they're kind of like slow and steady wins the race. They run cold like Vata. They have that in common with Vata, but they're a little bit heavier. They're the heavier the doshas. I love to think of Oprah Winfrey. Oprah is a great combination of Vata and Pitta. She has like Pitta mind, where she makes things happen, and she's brilliant and a great leader and very dynamic, but she has the physical qualities of Kapha. No matter how many times she keeps trying to lose weight, it's just like not, because that's not who she is. She's more of this Kaphic body. So smooth, slow, steady, tons of stamina. They're kind of like, in the story, the hare and the tortoise, where the hare is bopping along down the way and gets all, distracted, talking to other animals and other people along the way. But the tortoise is like doop-de-doop-de-doo, going very, very slowly, tons of stamina. The tortoise actually wins the race because the Vata rabbit got all distracted. So Kapha, they are very grounded people. They tend to be unruffled because they just sort of like, water off a duck's back. They just sort of accept things, but they have a problem resisting change. They can get really stuck where they are. So Kapha characteristics are a little bit heavier than the other doshas. Smooth skin, thick hair. They can sleep for like 10 hours without waking up. But as I said, they're slow moving, but they have tons of stamina. They rarely get sick. Kapha just is really healthy, very methodical, and they love a routine. So when they're balanced, they're really steady, loyal, consistent, supportive, very calm. But when they're out of balance, it's like too much water, too much earth. They become like mud. They can become dull, inert. They can couch potato. They can become needy and even greedy. Congested, because Kapha has a lot of water, and so a lot of the ailments we see in springtime have to do with too much water, sinus problems, allergies, and so on. So for this reason, we call springtime Kapha season. So you might see in some of these areas of imbalance that they might happen to you more, to all doshas, in the springtime because of the change of the season. So when we talk about the seasons, we also need to be aware of the rhythms of nature. So we have our circadian rhythms, seasonal, lunar, and tidal, which influence all of us. I think we're all women on the call. Is that right, Alex? Oh, we have some guys?
Yeah. Yes, we have a few gentlemen on here with us.
Okay, great. Hi, guys. I asked about that because women are very closely tied to the lunar cycle. And the moon is actually in Ayurveda and other esoteric energy systems. The moon is considered feminine, cooling, calming, and the sun is considered masculine. It's hot and heating and more aggressive. And so women tend to follow this lunar system with our menstrual periods. It's just amazing how when we're really tied into nature, we really are just so connected to each other as well as to the elements. So something to look at here, and it's really important to remember the circadian rhythm, because the circadian rhythm changes with the seasons. We have 24 hours in a day, but the daylight, as we know, changes. So now in springtime, we have sunrise earlier in the morning and sunset later in the day. So we're starting to move towards these really long days that we have in the summer, where some places on the East Coast, the sun doesn't set until 9 p.m. And even if you're more north and east, the sun might not set until 10 or 11. I've been in Iceland in the summer, where basically the sun doesn't even set. It's so amazing. So we want to adjust ourselves in some way to these circadian rhythms. And so we'll talk more about that. So it's interesting, I'll just mention that the doshas also apply to the circadian rhythms as well as seasons. So pitta is summertime, vata is late fall and early winter, and kapha is late winter and springtime. Okay, so those are how we attach these doshas to the seasons. All people, though, are connected doshically to these different circadian rhythms and seasonal rhythms. I hope that makes sense, and I can answer questions about that. And so we have the times of day, which personally, as I said, I can feel like all three doshas all day long because it's such a confusing time. So kapha time in the morning is 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. And during that time, that's when we get up in the morning and we move a little bit slowly because kapha is a little bit heavier. So we have to start to work through that dosha in the morning, maybe by exercising or doing some seasonal routines that we're going to talk about. But if you can try to wake up around 6 or 7 a.m., you'll see that you kind of feel pretty awake and rested. But if, like, during this time, if you don't have to go anywhere, if you're not working, you don't have dogs to walk or something, you might be sleeping in 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, but you might notice that when you wake up during that time, you're waking up deep into kapha time. So you're going to probably feel exhausted and sluggish because that is the time of day you're waking up in. But if you wake up closer to vata time, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., if you wake up closer to that 6 a.m. time, you'll feel those winds of vata, that creativity, that spontaneity of vata dosha can help you wake up earlier in the morning and feel more refreshed. So while, you have to make a decision, though. You have a choice. If you're going to sleep in, you're going to know you're going to wake up and feel kind of sluggish, and you're going to have to do some things to get yourself going. But like this morning, I woke up at 6:20, which is unusual. But I was wide awake and it felt great. And I meditated and then I read and I did some things. So, I definitely had those winds of vata helping me this morning. But if you wake up like on that earlier side of vata, or you stay awake until 2 a.m. or so, you'll feel those winds of vata. That's why we call it a second wind. It can be hard to get to sleep or get back to sleep. And then pitta time of day is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., which is when we have like the sun. The sun is the highest in the sky. We can use all that energy and heat of pitta dosha to help us just like to put all that force to our day, to get our work done, to get our jobs done, and so on. Oh my God, I'm not sure if you see, but Alex is a really cute dog. Just jumping up there. Anyway, her dog kind of picked up, boom, showed up. But I just want to mention here, excuse me, pitta time of night, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., because that is when the heat inside the body metabolizes all the food and everything we took in during the day. So we really want to try to be asleep by 10 or 11 p.m. at the latest, so that the body can function at its highest. We can break down all the food, the thoughts, emotions, everything we took in during the day. We can begin to break down at 10, 11, midnight. The body does this great metabolic action during this time to assimilate the nutrients that we took in our food and to get what we don't need, the waste to get it ready for elimination in the morning. So it's highly critical that we try to get to sleep sometime during before 10 or 11 p.m. at night. Okay, do your best to get there. And also help yourself by having a light dinner. These are also the times of the PM, so 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. is Kapha time at night. And we really just want to have a light meal during that time, especially in springtime, because spring is when the grounds get really heavy with water and rain and sometimes even snow. A friend of mine's in Chicago, they had snow last night. So we need to counterbalance that force of nature. Ayurveda is a science of opposites. And so when it's heavy, wet, cold, and damp, we want to do the opposite. Light and dry and warm is what we want to try and do. So we want to have a light, dry, warm meal at least 3 hours before we go to bed so that the body is not overtaxed when it's time to go to sleep, and we can better metabolize everything we took in during the day. If you happen to overeat at night before you go to sleep, you might notice that you have some pitta problems like heartburn and indigestion, acid reflux. Those are all problems of pitta. But one way that you can help yourself, one little thing you can do is just take like a small amount of water and put half a teaspoon of baking soda in it and drink that, and that will help to alkaline the system to get rid of the excess acid in the body. And also when you do go to sleep, sleep on your left side. That helps to support the organs better when you sleep on your left side, your stomach and so on, and it will help you digest your food better. So if you haven't tried that before, try that. You'll see the difference it makes. So this is a nice shot here of what I was just talking about, the different times of day. And if anybody wants this PowerPoint, I'm happy to email it to you. So at the end, we'll give my email address and everything, and I'm happy to send you this so you can have it to reference. It's also in my book, Ayurveda Beginner's Guide. So the whole thing is there as well. So this is an optimal morning routine to help us balance ourselves during springtime. I don't expect everybody to get all of it in. You might have to get up super early to make that happen, but you can try to see what fits into your daily schedule right now. As I said, a lot of you might not be working, or you just might have different shifts or different things that are happening. But interestingly, I think a lot of people who aren't working, what I'm hearing from people is they're having a really hard time structuring their day. So if we follow a daily routine, in Sanskrit, it's called dinacharya. If we follow a dinacharya in the morning, it might help us set up our day so that we can have more of a schedule, so that we won't get lost in watching CNN or whatever you watch, or reading the newspaper, or just being confused and upset and uncertain about what's going on. So structuring your day with a routine in the morning might really be helpful. So one of the first things we do in Ayurveda is we clean out the mouth when we get up in the morning. During the night, all this bacteria starts to come out in the cheeks and the tongue. And so we don't want to drink and eat before we clean our mouth, because we'll just be swallowing all of that, the waste products that the body took a long time to sort of force out. So in the morning, you want to use a tongue scraper, which I should have brought mine down, but we like look at our tongue and we see what's going on, and then we scrape the gunk off our tongue. And then you want to brush your teeth with a really good toothpaste that doesn't have chemicals or dyes or preservatives in it. There are actually quite a few Ayurvedic toothpastes on the market that I can put up in the chat, and you can try those. And then we either use a neti pot or we do nasya, which is cleaning of the nose. Actually, before I go to the nose, I want to say one more thing about the mouth. Is especially in springtime, it's a really good idea to gargle or do oil pulling using sesame seed oil or coconut oil, which is taking about a tablespoon of oil and holding it in your mouth. You can do a slight swish with it. sort of moving the oil around a little bit. The oil is antibacterial and will help to clean the mouth. You can also do a slight gargle with it, and that thin sheen of oil that stays in the mouth is going to help as an antibacterial throughout the day. If you do the actual oil pulling, you would keep the oil in your mouth for about 15 minutes. It's a nice way to stay calm and quiet and grounded, to feel that heavy oil in your mouth in the morning. And then we spit it out in the trash can. You want to make sure not to spit it in the sink. You don't want to get all that oil in the pipes, so let it go into the trash can.
And we had one question about the baking soda. How much baking soda did you say, and when would you recommend doing that?
Okay, so anytime that you feel that you have acid reflux, heartburn, indigestion, take about just a half a teaspoon of baking soda, Arm & Hammer baking soda, into just a small amount of room temperature water, and just drink that straight down. It's sort of like taking a Tums without all the extra stuff in it that Tums has. What it does is it works to alkaline the system. It reduces the acid. It returns you to a normal pH in your gut. And it's instant. It's amazing. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, you should definitely try that. Okay. So neti and nausea. A neti pot is when you pour a saline solution through your nose, and I only recommend that during springtime when the pollen starts to come in, or we feel seasonal allergies, or you feel like you're getting a cold, a virus, or a flu. I don't recommend doing neti pot the rest of the year, well, especially not fall and winter, because it's too drying on the sinuses. So just keep that in mind for your spring routine. But we also oil the nose. I actually have some nausea oil here on my desk. Hold on. So I'm going to show you what we do with nausea oil. This might be the first time you see someone sticking their finger up their nose on Zoom. You take a little bit of oil in your pinky and you swish it around inside your nostrils, and then you sniff it back. And that helps to reduce inflammation. It also helps to block environmental toxins, which is super important this time of year. And also what I'm using, especially during COVID-19, is I'm using zinc swabs in my nose. Zicam makes a zinc swab. Zinc kills coronavirus. It kills the other coronaviruses we know, like SARS and MERS. Have no idea. I don't know if anyone is doing the testing. They probably are to see if zinc kills COVID-19. But every time we walk out of the house, including wearing a mask, I'm using my nausea oil as well as zinc swabs in my nostrils. Again, you don't want to sniff it all the way back. You want to keep it right here in your nasal passages so that it can kill any viruses or anything that comes in, okay? Again, I'm not saying that it kills COVID-19, but it might. I don't know. You can try that. And just let me just say, if you're going to do the neti pot, wait at least an hour before you put the oil in your nose, because you don't want to trap any water in your nose, okay? Because that can cause actually sinus infections. You can just do nausea oil. Most mornings I just do oil. As you see, I keep it next to my desk. And I can, I'll send some links to Alex, and I'm sure she has all your email addresses, and she can send you links to all these products I'm talking about so you can see where to buy them, okay? Because not everything is available like in a regular store. Okay,
Can you explain what nausea oil is? What does it consist of?
So nausea oil is usually sesame seed oil, sometimes olive oil, and then a bunch of Ayurvedic herbs. I actually could probably read them. Has a lot, oh, I can't, it's so tiny. But it has a lot of different Ayurvedic herbs in it that are sometimes even eucalyptus, but other things called kaduchi, hiriataki, these things that help to reduce inflammation in the nasal passages. So that's what it is. Very soothing. A lot of people, especially people of Vata dosha, have very dry sinuses. And again, during allergy season, springtime, we tend to have all sorts of things populating our nose that are causing problems. And so nausea oil nose oil, basically, nausea is nose in Sanskrit, it can help to block those from coming in. I swear by my Nasi oil. My husband and I both have our own bottles. We're Nasia freaks. And I have to say, I rarely get sick. I am having some seasonal allergies beginning now, so I'm starting to ramp up on that situation. And you can too. Okay. Now it's time, after you've done this, to have some warm water. Warm water with lemon if you're primarily Vata or Kapha, and warm water with lime if you're primarily Pitta. That also helps to alkaline the system, hydrates the tissues. It can help with elimination in the morning, it can help with bowel movements, and it's just a great way to start the day before you drink your coffee or your tea or whatever you're going to do, or God forbid a Diet Coke. I have clients who drink a Coke or a 7-Up or Mountain Dew, I guess, with the caffeine in the morning. God forbid. But if that is the case, whatever, just try to have some warm water first, because your tissues will really thank you for doing that. And of course, whenever you need to, you want to make sure that you urinate and have a good bowel movement, and take your time. Especially now that most of us aren't working, maybe you can take a little bit of extra time on the toilet in the morning. If you have problems having a good complete bowel movement, you might think about getting a squatty potty, which helps keeps your knees up, which when we're squatting, it's a much better position to eliminate, to have a good bowel movement. But take your time, because most of us rush through that stage in the morning, and then you're keeping toxins in your body. And especially if you're a Vata, you have a hard time having bowel movements, and they can be small, hard balls that it's just really difficult to eliminate. We're going to talk about ways to help with that, but definitely drinking the warm water can help. But just take your time. Take your time. Ayurveda, as I mentioned, is about longevity and prevention, but it's really about removing toxins from the system subtly 24/7, so that we can have that longevity and the body is prepared to prevent any diseases or illnesses that are coming towards it. Okay, does that make sense? And then we want to do some exercises, and I'm going to show you exercises for each dosha. Meditation is sort of the basis for everything. And then a good workout we'll talk about includes cardio, strength exercises. And then we do something called Abhyanga, oil massage, which is putting oil all over the skin, rubbing it in really good to help release toxins in the body. And then we rinse off the oil, and again, leaving a thin sheen to protect from environmental toxins. So you can hear that that is something that we do often in Ayurveda. Thin sheen of oil in the mouth, thin sheen of oil in the nasal passages, oil on the skin. This all helps us to block environmental toxicity from coming into our bodies. Then we want to eat breakfast and then go to work. So do what you can, okay? I think I do all of this. I've been doing this for a really, really long time. These days that I'm not seeing clients at home, I'm usually not getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's usually waking up more in Kapha time and having that slow awakening and trying not to freak out, trying not to listen to the news right away or turn my phone on and read the headlines. It's a challenge though. It's a challenge, but I'm trying more and more to just start meditating in the morning. My husband and I, sometimes we just sit up in bed and meditate before we do anything else, because that is just a much calmer way to start this than looking at what happened overnight. And then you just have more wherewithal to take the news in, and you're calmer. I want to be awake and aware and mindful of everything that's going on. I'm definitely not hiding from the news, but we don't want it to take us over and just be so disturbing that our digestive system is a mess and we get all anxious and worried and so on. So in the afternoon, we want to have our largest meal of the day, sometime between 12 and 2, when Pitta is, or 10 and 2 actually, when Pitta is highest in the sky. So springtime, I try and eat 2 meals a day in the spring because it's a heavier season. And I find as I'm primarily Kapha dosha, but I have a lot of Pitta because I'm like menopausal, and I have a lot of Vata because I'm completely distracted. But I also have, like, I'm a larger, like a little bit extra weight, and so I have a lot of Kapha. So I can definitely live on 2 meals a day. So I try to have my largest meal sometime between 10 and 2, and then I try to have dinner around 5 or 6. And that seems to work out pretty well. So you might want to try that as well. That really helps to mitigate the heaviness of Kapha season. It's nice to sit for a few minutes after eating, or even take a walk. Taking a slow walk really helps to get the blood moving to aid your digestion. And then in the afternoon, it's good time if we've had a good meal, you know, not just like half a sandwich or some yogurt or something. If you've had a really good, healthy, hearty meal, you can really get a lot of work done in the afternoon. I am working on a new book that I mentioned, and I find that I work really well in the afternoon. I have a really nice meal. We're vegetarian, so it consists of beans or grains and greens. Of course, we're making everything at home. And I just take my time with that meal, and then I find I can get a good 3 or 4 hours of work in on my book in the afternoon. And that's that might be a good schedule for some of you as well. If you can get in a second meditation in the evening, that is another really great way to settle yourself down at the end of the day. And then the evening, I mentioned having a light dinner. 7 is the end of the line there. I think having dinner after 7 can really disrupt your sleep. You want to eat dinner at least 3 hours before you go to bed. And again, taking a walk, performing light activity, trying not to do anything that's really going to disturb the mind and body at night. So watching a press conference or watching the news, or, you know, catching up on the headlines right now can be super disturbing. I am not saying that I don't do that, because I do right now, and I can't help it. But I have like my favorite electronic device is my iPad mini. It's like the absolute perfect size. And unfortunately, I've been reading like news roundups and stuff before bed. Super disturbing. So last night I was like, I'm reading a book. I made sure not even to have my phone or my iPad next to the bed. And I slept beautifully, and I had really cool, vivid dreams about being at the beach and in these beautiful houses and around lots of people. And so it's a struggle, but I'm really, really going to try and do that more and more, is stay away from the news, anything disturbing before bed. I think we can all find solace in that. And then I definitely am asleep by 10:30, 11. And that's, I must be, or else I'm a mess the next day. And so, as I mentioned, these are the seasonal cycles. We're in Kapha season right now. So that's and this is an important slide so that you can work with the seasons. And my new book is all about this. So we're just coming out of Vata season. So these routines here might still be valid for you wherever you live. It might still be pretty cold. And so Vata season, our digestive fires are really high, so we crave heavier foods during Vata season, and that's okay. We need that to keep us warm. So we want to make sure that we don't eat any cold and raw foods. Everything should be cooked. And these are the kind of things you want to focus on. Dressing warmly, having more of the sweet, sour, salty, less of the bitter greens, the pungent and astringent tastes are something we want to concentrate more in spring. So as we're moving into springtime, we're going to change our seasonal foods. Pitta, summertime, we do want to look to the cooler food and drink. Sweet, bitter, astringent taste. And these are things I can send you the foods that fall into those categories, but you can probably, figure some of them out. We want to avoid overheating. And where we are, moving solidly into Kapha season now. So a lighter diet, as I mentioned, really reduce dairy products. I would say we reduce sweet, sour, and salty taste, which is really reducing dairy, wheat, and sugar. Dairy, wheat, and sugar are all very heavy. They're qualities that are very heavy in the food, and that's what we're in springtime. So we want to concentrate on foods that are lighter, drying, and warming, okay? And the bitter, pungent, and astringent, these are like the foods that all come out now that are just amazing, like dandelion greens. What do I love? Mustard greens, ramps come out now. Garlic and onions are also very kapha reducing. Arugula, and just berries, as the berries start to come out. Fruit, that citrus fruits are great right now. Things that are not too sweet. Grapefruit is really good, but that's also a lot of vitamin C, things you need right now. So we want to try and get, so soup is still really great during this season, and putting a lot of those greens, chard, any good spinach, any green you can think of, just adding it at the very end of making your soup or stews or whatever you're creating. But those greens will really help to balance the season. Using spices like turmeric, cumin, fennel, coriander, ginger, pepper, these spices, even a little pinch of cayenne pepper if you don't have a lot of pitta, these spices also will help you to balance the body, and they really also affect the mind during kapha season. We really want to also make sure to exercise this time of year. Getting outside and getting balance with nature is key. We do something called earthing, where we go outside and walk on the earth or sit on the earth barefoot, so that we can really feel the there's like an electromagnetic quality to the earth that's just there. But if we can connect to it by being barefoot, earthing has now been, it's like trademarked, but it reduces stress, it can help with sleep, it can reduce stress and anxiety. I actually broke my foot 2 years ago, and it was in September 2 years ago, and for 6 weeks, almost every day, I put my bare foot on the earth for at least 20 minutes to help my bone heal. And I'm a huge believer in that. And dressing to stay warm, it's really interesting. In kapha season, the sun can start to feel really warm on the body, but the air is still cold. So you want to make sure to keep a scarf around your neck, dress in layers, make sure that you're prepared when you go out, because it's just so changeable this time of year. And this is when colds and viruses and illnesses can really hit us during this season, because we're more vulnerable in the transition of the season, because sometimes we're just not prepared. So try and think ahead and make sure that you're prepared for that. So during times of change, we want to simplify the diet during times of transformation, really just at all costs. And I know people are, trying to cook as much as at home right now, and I understand that sales of processed foods have like skyrocketed because they had been going down, but I know people are buying things like macaroni and cheese or canned soups and things like that because they're trying to buy so they don't have to go to the grocery store so often. I get it, but try and have food that is not fried, oily, deep fried, heavy foods. Just really try and stay away from them. If you are eating processed food or boxed foods, try adding those greens to it that we talked about. If you can stock up on produce, even adding like a handful of parsley or cilantro to some pasta or macaroni and cheese or whatever it is really going to help you digest it. Adding those spices, turmeric, cumin, coriander, ginger, fennel, adding those spices into your processed foods can also help you digest your food better. So you can always make it better. Don't get down on yourself if like you just went out and bought a ton of processed stuff. It's okay, or frozen foods or whatever you bought, but think about adding something fresh to them now to add with digestion. And if you sip some warm tea or warm water with your meal, it's going to help you digest it better. This is the only time of year I talk about, well, really spring and summer, I talk about juicing. And so that can be a very simple diet this time of year, is to juice things like celery, cilantro, parsley, beets. Root vegetables like beets are this sort of like holdover from Vata season, but beets are really cleansing in the blood. So just simple juices. I have to say that personally, I'm not juicing right now because it's such a huge amount of produce, and we're only going out like once every 3 weeks or so to buy anything. So I'm not juicing currently, but if you're in a situation where you have a lot of produce or it's about to go bad, apples, oranges, whatever, you can juice all of that. And by removing the fiber in the juicing process, it's like this huge hit of nutrients into the blood system right away when you juice. So that might be something that would work for you at this time. And then you can use the fiber that you extracted from the juice in like soup or in muffins. There's a lot of different ways that you can use the fiber from the juicer. Or we have like compost, so we put it into the compost, which is good too. You could also use this time for some occasional fasting, which this might be just a fantastic time for you to do that. I recommend doing liquid fast or fasting on specific foods. Just like choosing one food in Ayurveda, we have something called khichdi, which is mung beans and basmati rice, and I'll include a recipe link when I send that to Alex. So doing a khichdi mono diet this time of year is a way of slowing down the digestive system and helping you to conserve your energy and strength for other things that you might need. And then we also just want to try and be really peaceful. We want to try and release negative emotions any way that we can, writing in a journal, talking to a friend, just even through meditation. In meditation practice, you can even let those negative emotions, scary thoughts, whatever it is, you can allow that to arise and you can let it come out during your meditation practice. You just don't want to hold it in so much and you don't want to stuff it down. You really want to try and express it any way that you can. And so we talked about being in nature. So this is how you balance your doshas, as we talked about. We are made up of all the 5 elements that we have outside of us. They're all in us as well. So the more that we connect to the elements outside, the more we can be balanced. Looking at the stars in space at night, very cooling, very calming. Taking walks at dusk and dawn. My husband and I have actually started taking these evening walks at sunset without the dogs, just the 2 of us. We've never done that before. But it's just a great way to end the day. There's nobody outside. There's nobody on the roads. It's just extraordinary. The birds are so loud. It's so balancing. It's just amazing. Walking along, being in the sunlight. Before Alex and I went on this call, I went outside, I rolled up my sleeves and I got the sun on my limbs, which helps to enhance our vitamin D, which is one of the really important things we can do to prevent disease. Walking along bodies of water, very cooling, and as I mentioned, earthing, walking on the earth. I just want to take my camera and turn it around and show you where I am. As you can see, this is where I am. So lucky I get to live in nature like this. And I can't tell you how much it helps me during the day to stop from the computer and look outside. So even if you just have a window to look out of, whatever it is, or a photo, or a candle, a plant, flowers, whatever it is, to bring that life force into your purview, I think is going to really help you during this season. And we talked about exercise. And so this is for each dosha. Vata wants to have slower paced grounding exercises like Tai Chi, yoga, walking. Pitta, cooling exercises. Pitta loves a challenge. They're very competitive people. So swimming, I don't know, like if you have a pool, your own pool, you can go swimming right now, but every gym is closed, so there's no other swimming. But trying to do these outdoor activities to keep Pitta balanced. Kapha really needs to get the blood moving to detox, longer, vigorous workouts. You can do, so many yoga classes are online, like everything's online. I started looking up like old-fashioned calisthenics online back from the 50s, Jack LaLanne. They're hilarious because he talks a lot about women's flabby arms, and so it's like hilarious, but they're great exercises. And I just, he even has his dog like in some of the routines. And that's Jack LaLanne, LaLlane. I just found looking up these routines from the 50s, he was on TV in the 50s, to be really fun because you don't need anything. You don't need any blocks or straps or mats or anything. It's just you moving your body, and I just find it to be very comforting to do that. So Kapha, everybody in Kapha season can get the blood flowing, and that works great. So getting a good night's sleep, as we've talked a lot about, because sleep is really important for prevention of illness, as well as getting all that stuff out of your mind. So here are just some ideas. Taking a bath, using essential oils is fantastic. Doing a nice slow body massage at night. I love this. This is my new ritual now, is taking tea to bed. So I'll go up to bed around 10 o'clock and I take, for me, I love peppermint tea at night. It's, as I mentioned, I'm in menopause. I'm on the good side, like almost through menopause now. I'm 56, but I still get warm at night. Not terrible hot flashes, but still warm. So peppermint tea for me has been this fantastic elixir because it cools down the body. But also drinking ginger tea, or making golden milk, which is milk or nut milk with cardamom, a little bit of ginger, some turmeric, and maybe some ghee, a little bit of oil. Is great for Vata, helps to oil the system, helps to lubricate the system so you can have a good bowel movement in the morning. But I am just loving this before bed. It's such a Oh, it's just so calming. So the new thing, not reading the iPad and having a cup of tea and relaxing before bed and writing in the journal. So my husband and I did start a COVID-19 journal, and where we're writing down our thoughts into it to remember this time, because hopefully it will never happen again in our lifetime, but to remind us of the things that are happening. So besides, as I talked about, being so disturbing, we're also finding, oh, there's so much less stress in our lives right now. There's no clients. There's like very few meetings. It's so quiet outside. Nature is blooming. There are no airplanes. It's so bizarre, but at the same time, it's just so amazing how things are slowing down. I mean, personally, we both work from home. So sometimes I would just go shopping in the middle of the day just to get out of the house. Like, I'd go to Home Goods and buy another mug. I mean, like, you can't do that anymore. And now I feel like I'll never do that again. So many things are changing. So to notice what's changing in your world, write it down in a journal so you have a record of this time, this very precious, weird time that we're in. We'll never be here again. We don't know how long it's going to last now, but I think it's going to help us to remember it. And so I would encourage you to get out any of the emotions that are disturbing, but also to write down the things that are bringing you a new sense of calm and peace and joy, because that's happening too for a lot of people. So maybe you can write that down as well. And as we talked about, don't do too many crazy things before bed. So these are some things we want to do to enliven our health in springtime. Look at the different areas of toxicity in our lives and see how we can change them. Eat your biggest meal at noon and a light meal at dinner. Try to go to bed earlier and wake up earlier with the sun in springtime. And so that's my presentation. Namaste is this beautiful way now. People, we can't shake hands. So we're definitely doing that is the emoji that you see all the time now, are the namaste hands. Namaste is that literally is meaning like, I am bowing to the divine in me and I'm recognizing the divine in you. So we're all divine beings. And so remember that as we go through this together currently. And hopefully we're all going to come out better for it. And I hope that I've given you a few things to do in springtime to mitigate the effects of the season. So I thank you so much for being here and watching this, and I am available for questions, thoughts, comments, anything that you might have right now for me.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody. April says namaste. Thank you. Looking forward to your follow-up email in the books. So we'll definitely send those out.
I see Anthony knows Jack LaLanne. Awesome. I know you have to be a certain age to know what I'm talking about.
That was so informative. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can you talk a little bit about where people can find out what their dosha is?
Yeah, so I'll send you a link to a dosha quiz. I have the dosha quiz I use for my clients. I use the one from the Chopra Center, but I have a longer one. You might find one at chopra.com, I guess if I write in the chat, everyone can see it.
Yep.
Everyone publicly. So you could look at chopra.com or email me at susan@breatheayurveda.com. Oops. Oh, I see. It's just going to one person. We got everyone in meeting. Okay. And my website, it's just easier to go by my name. Let's see, SusanWeis-Bohlen.com. So you can go to my website. There's a page on Ayurveda, and there's a lot of other stuff there you can find. There are a lot of dosha quizzes online. It gives you an indication of your dosha, but of course it's really always best to work with a practitioner if one is available. But you might be able to get a good idea on your own. I see it looks like I can include a file in the chat. Let me see if I can include the food list here that I send to my clients. No, that's, actually, here's my dosha quiz. So I'll send you that. And then I'm going to send you the food list, which is great. No, it's not there. Let's see, food guidelines. Here we go. Great. So there, on that dosha quiz, the first part of that dosha quiz is your current state. The first part of the dosha quiz is how you've been for most of your life. And the second part of the dosha quiz is your current state of being, which is your current state of imbalance. So that's where you want to look, that second part for the highest number, and that's where you want to eat for balance. And that food guidelines is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So if your Vata's high, you want to eat to reduce Vata. Pitta's high, eat to reduce Pitta. Kapha high, eat to reduce Kapha. And so you'll find that. Can everybody see those flyers there?
I can see them. I hope
okay, great.
Too, and I'll send those out in an email.
Okay, great.
We have another question from Deb. She says, when answering the dosha questions, are you answering them to your current state or to your younger self?
Dan, that's exactly what I was saying. It makes perfect sense. So in that quiz I sent out, most quizzes aren't broken down like this, but they should be. But you can, if you have some quiz, take it once as how you have been for most of your life. So if most of your life you've been a really heavy sleeper, put that down. Most of your life you've been calm and easygoing, mark that down. And then take the quiz again, and for how you are right now. So right now you're a light sleeper, easily disturbed, you're quick to anger, you're confused and anxious. Answer it for how you are today. And then what you want to do is you want to take how you are today. That's what's most important, is what your current state of mind and body is today. And you want to eat and do things to balance your mind and body. So essential oils, food, meditation, exercise, look into all of that to balance whatever dosha is currently out of balance. And then what you'll see happen is that you will naturally start moving back to your natural born Ayurvedic dosha as you take care of that imbalance currently. Great question.
And then Jade asks, when we are trying to balance, we are ultimately trying to get back to our natural dosha.
That's right. I saw Jade shaking her head. Yeah, you ultimately, right. You ultimately are trying to get back to your natural state. Slowly, easily, gently. It's there. It's underneath whatever might be in the way, but it's definitely there. But that is the idea. I'm trying to find here my spring kitchery. recipe. I'll get that out in a minute, but there's also a recipe here for a great warm breakfast of green mung beans. And I think it's under, where's my kapha? But you can go ahead and ask me some other questions while I'm looking for
Sure.
recipes for you.
We have, what is the difference between an Ayurvedic consultation versus a Vedic consultation?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. I have to pay attention and stop looking for recipes to answer that. So in my Ayurvedic consultations, I take into account like your current daily routine, the foods that you're eating, lifestyle stressors, things that are, you know, your family situation, work situation, and looking to create an ideal daily routine for you, helping you figure out what to eat, when to eat, you know, what kind of oils and herbs and things you should be using. So it's very specific for the whole body situation. And the Vedic counseling has to do more with dealing with the subtle energy body. And that has to do with like your chakra system, which is this system of energy that moves through the body from your root chakra to your crown chakra, and learning how to balance those energy systems with everything that's going on around you. Some people have like to work with their energy system in their daily life. Like, let's say people have trouble expressing themselves, they can't say no, or they feel like they're being walked over in their relationships. So we look at different ways of concentrating on the throat chakra, using the energy here of speech and listening to help you to sort of buck up those different subtle energy systems in the body to help you feel more productive in that way. And so we look at different things, something called Vastu, which is the Ayurvedic feng shui. I can help you figure out why things are not working well in your environment, so that we can figure out the kind of things that you need to create more balance there. And so the Vedic counseling has to really do more with the mind. And I would say the Ayurvedic counseling has to do more with the body, although the mind is definitely affected. But we concentrate more on meditation, chakra work, and as I said, the subtle energy body in the Vedic counseling. It's sort of, I look at it as a way of helping you get out of your own way. Like, we put up so many blockages in our daily life, like I can't do this, I couldn't possibly, you know, achieve this, and so on. And so I help you find the way through the energy system to clear the debris so that you can align yourself with the feeling of what you want to accomplish in your life, and help you get there on your own personal path. Hope that made sense.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I have
question.
I have the food allergy question.
Yes.
Okay, let me see. Got to have a lot of acidic issues, cause stomach issues. Yeah. Okay, so the peppermint tea is good. Go easy with the apple cider vinegar. Most people overdo it with the apple cider vinegar. One of my teachers, Dr. Ladd, he says like half a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in a cup of water. That's it. Don't go nuts. It's so funny. I'm drinking a Bragg's apple cider vinegar thing here as we speak. But don't go crazy with it, okay? Fresh fruits and vegetables, make sure that the fruit is sweet fruit, and don't eat it in combination with anything else. I'm going to send you a food combining thing here. Never eat fruit with dairy. We just never eat fruit. Should be eaten on its own about a half hour before a meal, okay? And the vegetables should definitely be cooked. Let me, these are your chakras, but can you guys see what I'm looking at on my computer?
No.
Okay, because I have the chakras on there. They're so beautiful. Wait, I'm looking at food combining, right? Okay, let me find the food combining. So that should help. And as we talked about eating lighter meals, here's food combining. This is great. So look for that food combining. Let's see, other acidic issues. So you should avoid, actually avoid citrus fruit altogether, and avoid tomatoes and yogurt. Those all cause acidic problems. Yogurt can be medicinal in certain situations, but during springtime especially, avoid the yogurt. And have cooling foods. Try having coconut water, cucumbers, zucchini, things with a lot of water in it that have cooling qualities will really help to balance the acid. Will links come via email? Yes. I will put together links for Alex that will get you to a whole bunch of great products that you can use in springtime.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Did we miss anything? Veda consultation. So when we're trying to get to balance, are we ultimately trying back? Oh, that was Jade's question. We got that. Morning routine seems so involved and time consuming for me to start. So Anthony, I would just pick a few things. I think one of the most important things is oral care. So cleaning your mouth in the morning. And I would say doing some light stretches or exercises and some time to meditate. So that's what I would recommend. Or you can look at the list and you can see what you think might be stuff that you could put in. Take it slowly, really just baby steps. You don't need to do everything. I've been practicing Ayurveda for, I don't know, 12, 13 years, something like that. So I've gotten my systems down. For instance, I have all my Ayurvedic herbs and oils on a bench in my bathroom, and I also have an electric kettle. So the first thing in the morning is I pour some water into my kettle and I heat it up. And that way I can drink some warm water. I can heat up my oil for my body massage. If I'm taking some herbs, I can mix it with that hot water. So by doing that, I have eased my morning routine, because I'm not going to go down to the kitchen and start that whole thing and then go back upstairs and do all that. You know, that's the way I work it. So you find what works best for you. As I mentioned, like, we're just sitting up in bed and meditating in the morning, not making a big deal out of it. I mean, normally you should face east when you meditate in the morning. We're facing kind of west, but it's okay. Not really west. Yeah, kind of westish. That's okay. It's like, it's what we can manage right now. So that's fine. So just do what you can. Really be flexible and easy with yourself. If you're primarily Pitta dosha, they really love to do everything exactly as it's supposed to be. But I'm going to encourage you to try to be flexible and easygoing with yourself during this time. I hope that helps.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Susan. This is very informative. Love the PowerPoint, and I hope that you can send that to me as well, so we can.
Oh, yes.
Have
Yeah,
that.
I'll send you that like as a Google Doc or something, I think is the best way, so then everyone can feel free. I just ask you to use a PowerPoint for yourself, not really like for you teaching a class or anything. If you wouldn't mind just keeping it for yourself would be great. Anybody else have any other questions or anything that they want to ask me before we go? I miss you too, Dawn. It's great to see you too, Arlene. It's great to see everybody. This is really fun. This is really fun to share the afternoon with you guys. I'm always available. I put my email up there. I'm happy to if you want to have a short phone call about, you know, if a consult would be good for you, or I can help you find a consultant in your area. Like Margarita, I think is from the Bronx or Brooklyn, and I know a lot of Ayurvedic practitioners in New York. So I'm happy to help people in any way that I can.
Perfect. Well, I think that might be it. I don't see any other questions coming in, so I think we'll just go ahead and say goodbye, but this was very lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. This was great. Really, I feel like you're all here with me, so that was wonderful. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
Stay healthy. Be well. Stay inside. Wear a mask if you go out. Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.